Hello again, YouTube. I'm CM Kozuman again, and I'm back with another nature, zoology, weird and cool stuff podcast. This time about a more recent and interesting topic. I just watched Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino, and boy, was it an awesome movie. I mean, it's fun, visceral, interesting to watch, cool as hell, and I was really interested by the way it handled slavery. It doesn't have any deep moralistic approach to it or whatever, but it does introduce some very unusual concepts into the story, which later made me question. In this movie, I'm gonna give a spoiler, there's a scene in which people, white slave owners, have their slaves battle it out and kill each other like fighting dogs, and in the movie they call this mandingo fighting. And I was really appalled by this when I saw it, and for a while I thought it may be something like this happened, but apparently this is more of an urban myth and there's no conclusive evidence that this sort of mandingo fighting was real. The word mandingo apparently comes from a 70s cult movie that Quentin Tarantino was a big fan of. But of course that doesn't mean slavery is less bad. It was one of the most evil institutions of our time. And thinking about slavery, I was taken to slavery in nature. Now most of you may not know that slavery exists in the natural world as well, and animals which you would consider innocent have some of the most cruel slave-making practices in the world. Case to the point, I'm gonna tell you about slaver ants. Now, this ant right here, this picture is by Alexander Wild, by the way. He can be reached at alexwild.com. He's one of the best nature photographers, best insect photographers in the world. But anyway, this is an ant of the genus Formica. One of your regular ants you would see on a beach or a meadow. They're very common. But okay, I'm gonna show it to you again. And now I'm gonna show you another ant, a slave maker ant of the genus, I believe, Polyergus. And look, this is the dastardly face of the slave making villain. Of course, natural animals are immune to our judgments about them, so that was just a joke. But what did you notice between these two ants? I will make it very visible for you. Here, look at the shape of their fucking jaws. This is the normal ant. It's got a multi-function jaw, useful for holding things. It's got little cusps like teeth, cutting food items, carrying things. Okay, then look at this motherfucker right here. It's got two knives. These are only used for killing other ants. This species of ant is so specialized for a slave-making lifestyle that it cannot do anything else but kill things with its jaws. And after killing ants, it carries their larvae back to its nest, and there they use them like slaves to feed them, to obey them, groom them, whatever. This is possible in ants because without a queen, workers don't function as they're supposed to or whatever. But anyway, this is one very, very cool and very, very cruel manifestation of slave making in nature. I actually have a really cool book here and an awesome painting to go with it. This, by the way, this is like Renaissance grade, one of the best science books out there. Ants by Bert, Hölldöbler and Edward O. Wilson. This is like the shit. If you're interested in ants, this is the shit. And this is such a shit that it's got plates. I'll show it to you this way because it's huge and heavy. It's got plates of every ant genus illustrator. It's amazing as an artistic resource as well as a scientific resource. And what I'm gonna show to you here is some epic artwork of slave-making ants on a raid. Allow me for a second, please. Okay, there's the shit. As you can see, wait. Okay, here's a Polyergus swarm on raid. They're attacking these ants. They're taking their eggs. Look at them. Look, one of them is biting its fucking head in. It's really cruel and it's really visceral. This coincidentally was one of my favorite pieces of art, not just nature art, but art. I mean, the guy who painted this, J.D. Dawson, is one of the most skilled illustrators in the world. And that was that for natural slavery. Now I want to elaborate this a bit more and go into the world of science fiction. Ants and slaves might be one thing, but one of the weirdest science fiction stories of all time, it's among the most questionable and politically contestable works out there. I'm gonna bring it to you right now. Just a minute. It's this thing. It's called the Domination Series by S.M. Stirling, Steve Stirling. Steve Stirling is an author of mainly swashbuckling adventure fiction set in alternative worlds. He's got one series called Dies the Fire, in which suddenly and for no reason electricity, gas and guns stop working, and it's like a huge zombie apocalypse like thing, but then it goes into a 6-book series about people acting like knights again and medieval stuff. So he's got that kind of gruesome blood fighting battles thing going on in most of his stories. Another story Steve Stirling writes is set in the island of Nantucket, and the whole island is taken back in time to 1200 BC or something, and people with modern technology encounter classical era Greeks and Mesoamerican Indians. Anyway, it's an amazing work of fiction. I'm going too much sideways. Back to the Domination. This is one of the most, how do you say, shocking, let's say, alternative history series out there. It's basically about a parallel universe where a slave making race, not a race but a nation of slave makers in South Africa, they somehow managed to carry on this enslaving lifestyle, and they take over the south half of Africa, and for some reason they become really technologically advanced, and they manage to make slavery compatible with an industrial society. And this is actually 3 books. The first of it is these guys, the Domination, they're called the Drakas, versus the Nazis. And in it, the Draka Empire has grown so much that they take not only all of Africa but all of Ottoman Empire too. There's a very, very harrowing passage there about how they carpet bomb Constantinople with zeppelins and gas, and I mean, this is the city I'm from, so it was very striking for me. But anyways, this is like full-on violence to the end, and the bad guys keep winning. They defeat the Nazis, then there's a huge Cold War with the Alliance, and they colonize the moon, Mars. There's like slave-taking space shuttle raids in asteroid fields or whatever. And again, the bad guys win. So this is why this book was extremely debated. There was lots of people saying Stirling actually identified with the good guys or the bad guys, whatever they were, the anti-heroes. I really recommend it. Take a look at this book. It's like, it's gonna shake your political sensibilities. Don't take it too seriously because it's just a bit of a tongue-in-cheek story, but it's a very like gruesomely enjoyable read. It's like a traffic accident that goes on for 760 pages and you can't look away. So anyways, I brought this into the mix because going from ants to fictional villains, slavery seems to be ingrained in the human, in the way we are wired as primates, I guess, or even mammals. I mean, to us it seems horrible, and it is horrible because we've got the hindsight of ethics and the advantage of technology. Before this, it was almost customary. I mean, most societies in the world, in world's history, had slavery in one form or the other. Now, I'm not defending this, but I'm simply interested in the way this seems to be hardwired into the way we organize societies. Maybe maybe it's an ugly truth about human nature that there will always be some bullies who will find ways to use other people, to coerce them to do their bidding. In fact, I think only guns have made it possible, and modern technology have made slavery impractical, because beforehand, let's take the Roman times for example. Most of you may be familiar with Spartacus series. Now slaves couldn't have access to hardcore weapons. You had to be a weapons carrying person trained in the use of that weapon and armor to be able to constitute an effective military force. A slave with like a knife or a spear had no chance against a legionnaire with like 5 years of training and like 6 years chopping whose heads off or whatever. Now enter the gun. Now people had far more easier ways of killing people, so slave rebellions became far more dangerous and slavery became increasingly impractical. In fact, I don't want to get too political about it, but especially in the United States, there seemed to be a correlation between people whose ancestors used to keep slaves and people who believe guns are necessary for a safer society. Maybe it's in their subconscious to fear other people because maybe they feel a bit guilty or frightened about what has been done to other people or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. So, Django, slavery, human nature. I'm gonna conclude by saying maybe this is part of how intelligent societies operate, at least with vertebrate body plans such as ours. Suffice it to say that any animal that develops intelligence may go through this ugly slavery stage in its process of building civilizations. That is, of course, unless they are organized like ants. Actually, me and a friend, Simon Roy, very talented guy and a very close internet friend, hello Simon, we were talking about this when we designed our project. This is still up for the grabs, by the way, of intelligent dinosaurs. And in our universe we had dinosaurs descended from like velociraptor type things, here you can see, and they developed a Stone Age civilization, and this was their cave art and shite. But anyways, even in this world we said maybe there are, like, just like the ants I showed you, two kinds of intelligent dinosaurs. One which takes slaves and another which live more with a farming lifestyle. So this was just fiction in our behalf. Obviously no one's ever gonna know what intelligent dinosaurs would have been like because they're dead. But this was one of the logic we used when creating this imaginary universe. Here's like a cool scene from that. These are on a hunting trip and they're hunting like a big huge parrot, gigantic dinosaur thing, whatever. So I'm gonna show you another cool artwork by Simon. This is promotion on my behalf. This is his a panel from the amazingly successful Prophet series that he's making. And here, I'm not gonna give away too much, but there's an empire of man and world has been inhabited by aliens, invaded by alien races, and the empire of man returns, and you kind of expect them to bring justice maybe, but no, they just go back and enslave the alien dudes. And this is a harrowing and a great work of art by my man Simon. Hello to Canada. So that's that. Slavery sucks. I believe it's an ugly part of human nature. This is not to say that it's good. It should be avoided at all costs. In fact, many horrible things are part of human nature. Sexism, murder, thievery, whatever. And we should be thankful today that we don't have slavery around. Technology. Come to think of it, it's very inefficient now. Okay, terribly sorry, just ran out of memory cards back there, but to make short of the long story, today slavery is impractical because we got the technology. Guns make it harder for you or anybody to force people because they'll shoot back at you. And frankly enough, there seem to be more devices out there that work better by making feel people that they have no other choice. I mean, in my observation, I'm not sure if this was done on purpose, but a mortgage works far better to enslave somebody than irons and shackles can ever do. I mean, put someone on a payroll, have them get a mortgage, and they're yours for 10 years. Heck, they even pay you back for it. And this is the sorry state of affairs in today's world. Obviously, I'm not going as much college style as to suggest that mortgages, slavery, capitalism is slavery, nothing like that. But I'm just pointing out that an ugly suppression of the human will is something we still haven't gotten away from, and hopefully technology will help us solve that too. Peace out, everybody. Don't enslave anyone, and have fun. Bye.